welcome back to the Impassioned Caregiver. Speck is thrilled to get his reward. All right, so if you liked what you heard in the previous video, feel free to use it. Drop me a line, tell me you want the script. I just want people to learn from it. So read it, have fun with it. So I'm really not sure what the catchy title should be to this teaching session. I thought about, oh mom, let me count the ways the system failed us. Or if there is an introductory class on assisting your parents, this would be the syllabus. I'm not sure, but let's get on with this. This section was really hard to write. After this experience, I'll have to ask Jackson Browne to lend me a new song, Doctor My Eyes Doesn't Fit Anymore. This is a reference to chapter 4 in the first book. Link will be in the comments. So much to my chagrin, during this canine training, I fucking cried horribly. Damn it. I can't say I learned how to cry. That's bullshit. People talk about, oh, that was a good cry. It helped me so much. Or, oh, I cried it out. I feel like a new person. What planet are they on? Certainly not mine. It's okay. We're all different. You know, crying gives me a headache. My nose feels terrible. Like when you're swimming and you do the somersault, the water goes right up into your nasal cavity. Days afterwards, my eyes still hurt and feel irritated. It's like I have an allergy to tears or something. Allergy to real emotions? I don't think so, because I know I can feel those and they contributed to some righteous anger, which led to change, led to this book, which I hope will help many. So one of the great reads during this time was Louise Aronson's book, Elderhood. So good. Look at all the little markings I have on it. Terrific. I supposed to see her in person, and that darn pandemic, damn. And I never did get to see her speak. You can find her on YouTube and all that. And she's always talking and promoting how we need to take care of our geriatric parents, or her geriatric patients. So I'm going to quote something from page 7. Citation will be in the comments. So according to Louise, in the 20th century, American medicine became more interested in cosmetics and catastrophes than in promoting and preserving human health and well-being. In the 21st century, it cares little about sanity, walking, eating, frailty, or suffering. It prioritizes treatment over prevention. Just so many other good things, and lots of knowledge to share. I remember right now, like Wiki Wobbly and Leaky, it's something that you need to know about. Like if your favorite elder has these symptoms, it can be a brain issue. But we'll get to that in other videos. So right now I'm going to attempt to replicate the format of my first videos, which is 5 different teaching sections in this video. So what was the health issues, advice, legal/insurance, support/writing, spiritual, and grateful. I think I did this for the second video. It's 6 and not 5. I should know that. But anyway, we're going to see how this goes. So here it is, first section. We know that, number 1. What was the health issues? Hypertension, high cholesterol, heart attack, stents, anemia. We knew she was bleeding internally, but we didn't know from where. Hospital syndrome, stroke, congestive heart failure, tremors, Parkinson's, delirium, sometimes due to UTIs. There's many things that can cause delirium in the elderly. So now we're at the second section, advice. I've said to friends, I feel so incompetent in this section because although my mom planned as much as she could and the senior community she moved into was pet friendly and across the street from the hospital, along with the rehab and assisted living, things still went so darn wrong. I'm sorry, I don't think expect the unexpected is great advice. To me, it just seems depressing. Come on, we didn't even need to encourage her to downsize. She's been telling us the past couple of years, if there's anything of yours left in this house, come get it, or else I'm throwing it away. The honesty was refreshing. My kind of person. Holy cows. I appreciated what she was doing. She was doing the hard work so we wouldn't have to do it in the future. And it took a lot out of her, but she wanted to be settled in her mind. She didn't want to leave us, or she didn't want to be a burden. So most families have a hard time convincing their parents to get rid of things. Parents hold on to mementos, thinking their kids will want them. It's so sad to say many children just don't talk. Marie Conduit, thank the stuff, kiss it, then say goodbye. And as you see, I don't think I'm so Marie Kondo-ish here. I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. I could do more. So back to serious reality. The thing that still bothers me is I don't think we could have anticipated these issues. Two things happen. The quick need for her assistance after her husband died, which is so common in caregiving situations. People hang on, the caregiver hangs on through the crisis. Then the bodies give out when they finally can relax. Your husband died and that's it. The body said, enough. I held out for so long. And then what they never could have predicted was the assisted living associated with her community was not pet friendly. No one would have thought to ask that question because we thought it was going to be years out. My mom was so darn independent. Everyone thought that if my stepfather passed sooner, which was most likely he was 10 years older, she'd still be her normal active self and never need assisted living for her and the pet. We really thought she had 10 healthy years, maybe even more on her own. That is the saddest thing for me. So when the hospital, in that moment of suggesting she give the dog away, truly, I don't understand why things can have been explained to me prior, somewhere else, especially since she had short-term memory loss. In other words, she had none of it. So how is she supposed to take a choice on her future? If someone knows why case managers do this, drop a line in the comments. I know they're overworked. I know insurance companies are bears and mean-spirited, but holy crap, this just was so unkind. So you heard the story in All About the Canine, the heart attack the day after her husband's funeral. We learned there is a broken heart syndrome. I'm not sure if I'm going to say this Japanese word correctly, but takotsubo. Note will be in the comments. Can you believe that happens? It's a true syndrome. Amazing. So with her heart, she's had regular blockage that needed 2 stents. Her, as I said, she hung on. She did everything right by him. Then her body said, Uncle. Remember that old expression, I'm done. I can take no more. The key takeaway was after the first heart attack, I went to hire help. So the first heart attack was like the end of July. She resisted. Please, parents, do not resist. If your kid watching this, show this to your parent. If she had support just a little bit at that time, people would have noticed sooner that she was losing ground, and we could have intervened and possibly kept her independent at the cheap but very well run senior apartment complex. Everyone is so damn proud. I can do it myself. Throw that proudness out the damn window. So when she got out of the hospital after the first heart attack, if I wasn't staying with her, there's no way she could have managed the crucial meds that she needed. The pharmacy was out of them. It was confusing to me. There's notes on when to start and when to stop and when to add. But if she didn't have them all, you couldn't make that chart. She couldn't even make the chart because she's grieving her husband. She's grieving her health. Holy crap. I remember one time someone did call to follow up from the hospital, but I paid attention. If she was there alone, she never would have listened to the voicemails because she was naturally overwhelmed, not because she was an idiot or didn't want to take care of herself. She was naturally friggin' overwhelmed. And you think that caseworker would have keep calling back? No, they're overwhelmed. So I'm not blaming them either. The system is problematic. So if she was by herself, she just would have been another senior to drift away and have more issues sooner than they expected. And I wanted my mom to be independent and do things, but not like the day after she got out of the hospital from a heart attack. So me being there and starting to handle things so she could have scaffolding to be independent was totally normal. And her sister did live in the same complex, but she was at least 8 years older and had her own health issues. Her sister did come by, check on her every day, but there is a limit to what she could do. And okay, we need a little bit of humor right here. So this 8-year-old sister, our sister who's 8 years older than her, the funny thing was she was originally my mom's power of attorney and my mom was hers. Because when everything was normal, it didn't make a difference. But what's it? The shit hits the fan, but there's something, the metal hits the road. There's another old expression, but it was nuts. We changed the paperwork, and I don't think my aunt's paperwork changed until a year after my mom was in assisted living, and only after I told my aunt's kids, oh, that my mom's her power of attorney, and I think you'll want to change that. So back to July. So I stayed till mid-August, and I knew she needed help, but no one would listen to me. So by the beginning of September, back in the hospital with a second heart attack, most likely due to her anemia. Anemia and UTIs can cause heart attacks in the elderly. That is important to know. Be on top of those things. So they kept on giving my mom blood infusions, transfusions. I'm sorry, I'm not sure whether if there's a difference. But it's really hard on a senior body. You can't just keep getting it. And then you want to know, where is this blood going? So then the beginning of October, the stroke. So luckily, the lawyer put in my mom's papers that I was her healthcare proxy and we could do what was best for her. My husband and I were always clear to my parents and step-parents that we took in one parent, his mom. You can read about that in book 1, chapter 3, link in comments. And, it wasn't as successful as we'd like, and we'd never do it again. Key point, get things in writing with your parents. Make an appointment with your family lawyer. Even better, make one with an elder care lawyer. So, when it came to my mom needing assistance, it was hard to do, but it really was the best option to keep her safe. And I thought to give her the most freedom. She'd have socialization. She wouldn't be isolated. And she is Miss Social Butterfly. And that was the most important. If she was going to have a longer recovery, she needed to have people around her. But I still needed help from others for her to buy into the idea of assisted living. And many of her fears are true. It's going to be so different than what I'm used to. Can I afford it? Will it feel institutional? These are all good concerns, legitimate concerns. And so at this point, if we taken her dog away, she would have truly suffered from a takasubu. Still not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'll try and put, you can look online and get a pronunciation thing. I'll put that in the comments. What I really wished for, that the doctors were clearer on what was better for her too. Like, okay, you have no short-term memory. You really do need assistance. It frustrated me that overall, at the best, they were neutral, but they weren't crystal clear. It wasn't safe if you couldn't take care of yourself. She'd either take too much medicine or too little medicine, eat too much, eat too little. She was diabetic. If she didn't take her diabetes medicine, could have a crisis, and look at the mess that would have caused down the line and caused her more suffering. Jesus. I did look into, could she be at home temporarily? Like, did we have to make this assisted living decision immediately? So, okay, hire help a couple times a day, hire a dog walker. The stalling point for her, as it would be for many, were who's going to handle the meds. You needed to hire a nurse coordinator to talk to the other help to do the meds, because all those like outsourced care coordinators like Home Instead, Visiting Angels, they're all terrific, but they cannot handle medicines. And then again, I told you she's a social butterfly. If she was home and only really having her sister or a home health aide visit, that she would not have liked that. It would have killed her will to thrive. And when I added up all these things, a dog walker, home health aides, the nurse coordinator, it was basically going to cost just as much as assisted living. And at assisted living, she'd have 24-hour care plus activities, all her meals served, and community. So it ended up being a no-brainer for me. Not for her, and I understand why, but in the end, it was the best thing. So where should she be in assisted living? Across the country from me? The one in charge? I asked her, what did she prefer? There was so much loss of control, so this is something that she actually could decide. She always lived in the Philly area. She went to stay there. Thank goodness, because, if she did want to come live across the country, she was too fragile to move at that point. So what could we have done? Neither of my parents expected to move back, for us to move back home or to move closer to live with us. Check out the book, Working Daughter. That author, and she has an amazing website, and she has a big presence online. She did a lot of moving for her parents. She sacrificed a lot. Link in the comments. Another good read and good resources. So when I was trying to figure out how do I even find assisted livings and what will her insurance possibly cover, where do I start? A good place to start is a place for mom. And yes, they do get paid from the facilities, but they are transparent about that. And it is a great place to start, and it got you out there looking at things. So you have ALFs, assisted living facilities, SNFs, more like nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities, and continuing care communities. Some require huge buy-ins, some require you pay a year up front. Holy crap. Some are more flexible. Most places are month to month, so if it doesn't suit a parent or you being the one in charge, you can move. Moving is not that simple, but it is an option. Tour places, do surprise visits, have a meal there, talk to other residents, Ask a million questions. One assisted living, taking care of the dog was included. The other, we would have had to hire a dog walker. All those details, we just need to know in advance. They were all okay, but we just need to know so we could figure out her finances. If you have long-term care assistance, you can use it for assisted living. If you or your spouse were veterans, you might qualify for assistance. It is an extremely laborious process, but my mom qualified through my stepdad, and it allowed her to stay in assisted living for a longer period of time. Yay, stepdad, yay, veterans services. Woof! Link for info down in the comments. So during this time, we had the driving conversation. It is so hard. It really is losing agency and independence. Yes, there's Uber and Lyft, but our parents weren't used to that. And yes, there's a little like public transportation bus or even a bus at the senior community. But come on, we all know there's nothing like picking up your keys to go wherever you want, wherever you'd like, for however long it pleases you. Nothing like it. But it became clear she couldn't drive. After a heart attack, I was a passenger in the car, and she accidentally, I know it wasn't on purpose, nearly killed us, let alone the people who almost crashed into us. There were words and arguments. Holy cows, I think curses on both of our mouths. I didn't take away her keys then. At that point, she was really just driving up the street to the supermarket and back. I probably should have, but I didn't. After the stroke, we had the conversation that since she had no short-term memory, it wasn't safe. And she actually had some vision problems too, so it really wasn't safe. But I told her that we'd hold on to the car. It was paid off, so there was no like financial thing there. We'll hold on to it, so if you recover enough, you'd have it when you could drive again. It's great motivation. You know, goals are always important. So when she first moved into assisted living, she really thought, I'm going to drive again. And she worked hard at physical therapy. She was always a hard worker anyway, but it really thought like, I'm going to work towards this goal. We were also fortunate that we could store it at my father's house and he could keep an eye on it. She did improve a lot from the stroke, but her driving days were over. It was sad for all of us. And I'm sure there was some jealousy that my father was still driving. Whether he should have been or not was a whole different conversation, but I appreciated A, that he lived near her assisted living, and B, if I needed to get something to mom, like it's a long story, we'll cover it in a future video, but sometimes she just needed cash, he could drive over and give it to her. And he was happy to do it. That is really unusual when you have parents that still have a good relationship and want to help each other. I mean, he understood him and his wife were going through elderly stuff, and so when he could, he appreciated being able to help. So sometimes, you know, you can get the primary doctor involved with the you need to stop driving conversation. If your parent lives nearby, go to some appointments with them. Know their doctors. Fill out the paperwork so you can talk to their doctor, the HIPAA paperwork. If you live far away, definitely fill out that paperwork. You want to be able to pick up the phone and say, Doc, what's going on with my parent? You will definitely need to speak with doctors or discuss their cases in the future, and also get into electronic records, sign those paperworks. That is so easy. You see test results, you see blood results, so you can do a little, you know, doctor Googling before the next appointment, so you're on top of things. Many times my mom had a doc's visit, I'd have her call on her cell phone and put it on speaker, just put it in the room. The doctor saw it, so he didn't have to worry about like, is she recording me, whatever. No, he was a willing participant. He knew it would make my mom happy and, get her better. Other times, a doctor would call me after the update on their own time. This is not billable hours. They did it out of the kindness of their heart. I appreciated that. Paying bills was harder than you'd imagine. They wouldn't give me balances. Companies would want a power of attorney. It was most perilous for her health insurance. We couldn't let there be a gap. She was in the hospital all the darn time, and they do drop you for non-payment. And then to get back in, it's hard. And sometimes you can't get back in. Ideally, you can help your parents to set up and pay their bills online. You can do the monitoring so you make sure they're not double billed for anything or things aren't correct. Technology was instrumental during this time. Speaking of technology, the smartphone, the thing that I'm recording this on, it is a scanner and a fax machine. Take advantage of those features. I did. It saved me so much time and effort, especially when I was like on planes and I was here, I was there, and who the heck knew where these companies were, when I finally located my mom's checkbooks, they're partially written checks that were fully written but never sent, and tons of bills that were open, stuck in the checkbook but never paid. Electricity was about to be turned off. This is so common in elder world. After my brother's stroke, a friend's TBI, and my possible MS diagnosis, I start going to lectures about brain issues. I wanted to know, how are we going to protect? Can we notice things sooner? How are we going to help ourselves? One of the things, a speaker who I listened to, the speaker was a doctor. One of the things the doctor shared was that research showed one of the first things that happens with cognitive decline in our elders is the inability to do simple math or write checks. Look at that. How long did that research take? So I immediately, you know me, I'm obnoxious. I want to know all the friggin' answers. I raised my hand and asked the doc, well, why doesn't every primary doc or geriatrician start the visit with their patients of a certain age with some simple math problems, or have a blank check and have them fill it out? The speaker blinked and looked like a deer in headlights. Come on, they're smart. If I figured it out in the audience, couldn't they have thought about that? Ooh, geez, again. Holy cows. Not only would it help the person, the patient coming into the doc, but it would help the family. The earlier you have intervention and can put support in place, the longer folks can stay independent. Come on, I'm not the only one to figure that out. What is wrong in the medical industrial complex? So when I first started going to the neurologist, I'd have to fill out a simple questionnaire. It wasn't math, but I think some of it had to do memory, or maybe like list 10 words that start with the letter A. I forget what it was, but they figured it out for that. Why couldn't they figure it out for elderly cognitive decline? And we're not even talking about dementia or Alzheimer's. That's a whole different thing. And I know I haven't gone into that. That is a whole different animal. We will attack that in another video. But now when you go to my primary, they ask about depression and substance abuse, and you have to fill out a survey. So let's get the primary to ask some simple things or do some simple math, so then if there's issues, they can refer them to a neurologist, because there's drugs now that can help with memory loss and early onset cognitive decline, or just like normal cognitive decline. Let's help these people. Ideally, big different subject change here. Ideally, if you have siblings, you can divide and conquer chores. There's so many ways of doing that. There's so much to do to help your parents. It can't all fall onto one person. And it's also better if one person doesn't have all the power. Work together. Be kind. Take good care of everyone's sanity. Now we're into the legal insurance section. So even if you have power of attorney, banks sometimes don't want to honor it. It's extremely helpful to be on one of your parents' accounts before you need to enact power of attorney. I had to start writing checks immediately on my mom's account, and because I was already on there, I could just sign. I did take the paperwork to the bank, but they stall and they wait, and it's like they don't like it. And I even went to the person that my mom knew and that I'd been there with my mom, and they're still like, oh, they didn't think I was trying to scam her, but it's the whole bank thing that, like, oh, it'll take a while to process. And as I said earlier, do your best to set your parents up with automatic bill pay. Share passwords so you can double check that they're getting charged the correct amount. Most important, as the lawyer said, when signing your name for a parent, always put POA after your name. Like, ba-da-da-da-da, Darlene, POA for my mom, and write out her full legal name. Gotta do it. Don't get yourself on the hook. Things are so expensive you can't go down while you're trying to help someone. We're now at the support writing section. So without support and friends, this canine story would not have come about. Through the Northwest Narrative Medicine Collaborative, I had heard about a program at a local Portland theater that was also sponsored by the Writer Guild of America, the East Coast Division. The group at the Profile Theater invited caregivers, their families, and people with chronic illnesses to meet monthly to write. It was at least a year, I think a year and a half. And it was so powerful. And caregivers across every issue. It wasn't elder parents. It was, well, some was, but spouses, children, every kind of caregiver. And you just came and you could be yourself and relate to others. Someday, I want to do a multimedia event with text, all the texts I had during this time, music, and all the crazy chatter from voicemails. I've saved so much. See, I'm pack rat in the technology field. But until then, I'll share this writing exercise. It's called Mom's Fridge. It'll be in the comments because you're done listening to me. You don't want me to read yet another piece to you. But you all can relate on this in your parents' fridge. So go ahead and read it. It's in the comments. We've now reached the spiritual section. I got nothing. I'm sorry. The only thing I can say is a friend would say, I'm praying for you and your mom. I'd say thank you. Because during this time, it certainly didn't seem like there was a God that was on our side. Yes, things could have been worse, but it didn't seem like things were going our way so many times. Now we're at the grateful section, and I am grateful. Might not have felt spiritual, but I always feel grateful. I'm so grateful that we found a place for my mom and her dog in the time frame we had. Good people worked there. It wasn't perfect, but she was well cared for. I was so grateful that I could return home to my hubby and our pets and know that he wanted what was best for my mom. Remember the YouTube mantra: like, subscribe, and share for those who need it. We are here as a community to help each other. Okay, so next time it's going to be so exciting. You're going to get a staged reading. So you won't just have me. You'll have me in the little intro, but once you get to the literary piece, it's going to be so exciting. Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm biased. I like it. Till next time, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and sending you hugs.